I'm joined by a former NFL wide receiver, a legendary player who made a legendary cameo appearance on this show recently when I was talking with Randy Moss. It was so awesome, I knew I had to bring him back. Well, take a shot at bringing him back for his own spot. He was the number 2 overall pick in 2007 out of Georgia Tech, a 6-time Pro Bowler, a 4-time All-Pro. He set an NFL record with nearly 2,000 receiving yards, 1,964 to be exact in 2012. He was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2021. Of course, we'll talk about his company, Primitive Performance. It's a line of nano CBD products. We are joined by Megatron, Calvin Johnson. My man, it is great to chop it up with you once again, especially via Zoom. Calvin, what's going on? How are you?
I'm doing great, John. Great to see you, man. Thanks for having me on.
Man, it is so good to see you. Great to have you back. You look great. Hey, listen, for me, having you crash my Zoom interview with Randy Moss was a legendary moment for me in the program. But, dude, be real with me. For you, was it just a case of you trying to get your dude to wrap up that conversation so you guys could finish up your round?
Randy and them, they was in front of us, so they was, Randy over here too in his Zoom, they were slowing down the pace of play. I feel like we're like a half hour behind, but it wasn't Randy's fault. That's my dog, man. And Randy just handling business, man. I was just happy to see him out there swinging the clubs with us. We had a good time.
I thought that was great. In fact, not to get all weird about it, but it was kind of a goosebump moment to see you two dudes together, even for a few seconds. What's it like when you two guys come together on a golf course and spend some time together? How competitive does it get? And is there any nice side action going on?
The competitive juices are always flowing. But, man, for me, I'm like a kid in the candy shop, when I'm going to these events. It's actually Charles Haley's charity event out in Dallas. And, I'm able to see the guys and hang out, play golf with the guys that I looked up to, man. So for him and Randy just to, take me in and always be mad cool. And we always have good conversation, whenever we're around with each other, man. So he's one of the best, man, and one of the best personalities, too.
I think you nailed it. He is mad cool, man. He is mad cool. He has a tremendous personality. Calvin Johnson joining us. You mentioned that, hey, listen, I've talked to so many guys that look up to you. It's interesting to hear you say you like getting around guys that you kind of looked up to. Who are some of the guys that you see when you get out there that you admire, that you really looked up to, that you want to spend some time with other than Randy Moss? I'm curious.
Man, you see like guys like LT, John Randall. I'm a big fan of defensive players, but obviously, you got Tim Brown, Jerry Rice is out there. I can keep going on and on. Obviously, our new guys, Marcus Ware, Zach Thomas just went in, Rondé. Jesus. Harold Carmichael. I mean, the guys that I looked up, who they looked up to. That's what makes that so special to get around those events, is just to see the different levels, the different legends, from the different time periods of the game, and just to sit back and see the conversations and the stories and how they don't change that much. Just really with time.
Calvin Johnson joining us because I'm an old head. I know a lot of those guys, and I've interviewed a lot of those guys and spent time with a lot of those guys. I love hearing those names. John Randall, to me, man, I used to love John Randall. He was such an amazing player. And then you'd get him on the show, and he'd just play it real straight. And then we'd get off the air, and he'd go back to being John Randall, man. My man could talk a lot on the field and was a great player, but then he'd be kind of chill on the show. Love Tim Brown. Man, I love Tim Brown. LT, of course, is LT. Calvin, so many guys that I talk to, when I talk to DBs, I say, who are the toughest covers? Who are the guys that gave you all you could handle? Your name is always one of the first names to come up. If I were to turn that on its head, who are some of the guys that brought out the very best in you? Some of the best corners that you went up against?
Man, I'll start here. I'll start with the corner that helped me get my mindset, I feel like, to where it needed to be, to play in the NFL. And so my rookie year, I was introduced to Al Harris. I had to play him twice a year up in Green Bay. And Al, man, he was just so physical, so aggressive, long arms, get your hands in your face. The referee would never call it. I'm just like, okay, this is what I got to go against. This is the level of competition. This is what I got to deal with. Okay, I'm going to get my mind right so I can deal with this. And, I went into my first offseason and trained with a mindset of just trying to unleash the dog and really just try to perfect my craft so that, when I'm dealing with these guys with the long arms, my technique can come to the forefront, when I get into these situations under duress.
So if you're Megatron and you're talking about how physical a corner was with you, that speaks to how physical Al Harris was. I respect that. When you talk about some of the all-time greats, I know you spent time recently with Barry Sanders. You were there September 17th for the unveiling of his statue at Ford Field. This dude truly was one of one. How special was it to be there for the event? And then what do you admire most about Barry as a man and as a player?
It was special to be at the event because, it's so deserved. I wish I could have been back in the Silverdome back in the day when you just hear the chants of, Barry, Barry, because we got a glimpse of it this past Sunday or when they had their first home game a week or two ago. The crowd. I bet it's reminiscence of the time when he was at the Silverdome, just Barry, Barry. And, to speak of the human being, just as humble as can get, he'd rather pass on the praise, but he's going to put in all the work. That's the kind of guy that, you have the utmost respect for.
Megatron, Calvin Johnson joining us. I'm glad you mentioned that home opener. Dude, I thought it was awesome. Awesome to see you on the field for that home opener. How did that feel to you? And you and I talked about this the last time we talked. How did it feel to you? And then how would you describe where things stand between you and the organization right now?
It's always a great feeling to go back, step out on that field, where you put in time and work, and just to see the fans and, just to have that interaction once again with the fans, it's always a good feeling. The energy is great in Detroit, and the place is deafening, when the legends come back and step on the field. So it's truly just an appreciation of the fans that we have here in Detroit, man. With the Lions, though, we're working towards. We're in the process of working to get in a better place, and I can appreciate the fact that I've been working with Mike Desner over there a lot, and just trying to rebuild that relationship. So I'm just going to try to step up and do my part and just be available, I guess.
Great to hear it. And sorry to interrupt you. We're talking to Calvin Johnson. I've always said this, Calvin, it might be hockey town. Detroit might be hockey town. I've always maintained this. Man, that is such a great football town. It's a football town at its heart. They are so hungry to win in football. Do you like what you've seen from the team so far? We'll learn more about the team on Thursday night when they play Green Bay. But do you like what you've seen so far this year, and what has stood out to you so far?
I love what I see. And I'm going to tell you why I love what I see from the team. Obviously, Dan, former teammate of mine, I love the guy, I played with him, seeing his maturity and his growth through the ranks while he's been coaching. But more so than that, he's surrounded himself with I feel like, great player coaches that have had success in the league in different places. And, obviously that played ball. And I feel like for the player, I had a player coach in Sean Jefferson when I was being coached there in Detroit for at least half my career. And I know as a player, I'm more inclined to try to gobble up every tidbit that you're going to give me, especially when you've been out there and you've done it and you have a track record.
Kevin, one thing before I ask you about your company, one thing about Dan Campbell, as a coach, man, he's an outlier. He's a wild man as a coach. But as a teammate, was he just another guy that was really intense? Or was he even a wild man amongst alphas and intense guys in the locker room?
I think that little bit of you get a little bit of that wild man in some of those interviews. You got that on Sunday. You got that from Dan when he was playing, but obviously you got a more contained specimen now that we're dealing with, more mature. And like I said, I hope he has a whole ton of success here.
Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the bell to be the first to know when we do upload a new video.